Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 239 by Senator Hertzberg and accolade to local services.
Mr. Chu, you may open on the item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, state law requires LAFCO to approve jurisdictional changes such as the consolidations, mergers, dissolutions, and a variety of contracts for services. But there's been a loophole when contracting between two public agencies where the LAFCO process has been avoided and when jurisdictional changes can happen with little public input or scrutiny. Recent contracts have generated controversy while failing to produce anticipated cost savings. This bill, SB 239, would provide transparency and oversight when a public agency considers extending fire protection services outside of their jurisdictional boundaries. Recent amendments have narrowed the bill's fiscal review requirements, and at this time, SB 239 merely ensures that contracts and financials are scrutinized. And with that, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Chu. Seeing no discussion on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 Mr. Chu moves the call. Members, we are going to pass temporarily on file item 70. We're moving to file item number 71, SB 331. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 331 by Senator Mendoza and accolade to public contracts.
Ms. Gonzalez, you may open.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker and members. SB 331 by Senator Mendoza requires local jurisdictions that establish transparency requirements for labor contracts to apply the same degree of transparency to other contracts for goods and services. Some local governments have adopted civic openness and negotiation ordinances under the guise of promoting transparency. Local so-called COIN ordinances typically require an independent negotiator for labor contracts and public disclosure of offers during labor negotiations before the final contract is approved. This bill simply expands these same transparency requirements beyond labor contracts to contracts for goods and services valued at $250,000 or more in cities that have already adopted these ordinances. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Seeing no discussion or debate on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 Ms. Gonzalez.
Move the call.
Ms. Gonzalez moves the call. Members, we're going to move back toward the top of the file to take up items for which we passed temporarily. We are going to take up file item number 15 on the concurrence file, that is Assembly Bill 888. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 888 by Assemblymember Bloom and Aqua Latent Waste Management.
Mr. Bloom, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this is a little bill, AB 888, having to do with plastic microbeads. I'm pleased to say that the Senate voted in favor of this bill last week, and it was done with some amendments. Those amendments do the following. Number one, they strike the proposed Department of Toxics Alternatives review process, and while there is agreement that some type of review process would be beneficial in evaluating potential alternatives, there is not an industry consensus that the existing DTSC green chemistry process is the right fit for these products. The Second Amendment strikes the definition of natural exfoliants that would be necessarily exempt from phase-out. Again, there's not an industry consensus that this definition is sufficiently inclusive of all the natural alternatives that might be on the marketplace or in development, so it was pulled out. And with these two amendments, AB 888 is simply a prohibition effective 4 years from now, January 1st, 2020, on the use of plastic microbeads in personal care products that makes it essentially the same bill that this body, the Assembly, voted for on May 15th. Myself, the bill supporters, and industry have all pledged to continue to work together in the next session to develop a policy and a process for reviewing and hopefully promoting alternatives that are effective without posing a threat to public health or the environment. With the adoption of this measure, each of us can go back to our constituents and report that the California legislature has taken action to reduce a very real and growing source of plastic pollution and a threat to water quality and wildlife, and we'll be able to report that California has enacted the strongest legislation in this regard in the nation. I urge an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Bloom. Seeing no discussion on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 45, noes 10. Senate amendments are concurred in. Members, on Senate third reading, we are moving to file item number 35, SB 762. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 762 by Senator Walk and Aqua Latent to Public Contracts.
Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I rise to present SB 762, which establishes what we call the best value construction contract bidding program in construction contracts in 7 different counties for contracts in excess of $1 million. This has enjoyed broad support, and we respectfully request an aye vote on SB 762. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Ridley Thomas. Seeing no discussion or debate on the item, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 Mr. Ridley Thomas moves a call on file item 35. Moving to file item number 41, members. That's Senate Bill 540. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 540 by Senator Hertzberg, enacting taxation.
Mr. Bro, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I rise today to present SB 540 on behalf of Senator Hertzberg. It's a taxpayer advocate relief program that takes responsibility for costs wrongly imposed on taxpayers due to the Franchise Tax Board mistakes. Instead of requiring taxpayers to work through red tape, the relief program provides a simplified process for taxpayers to get the money they're entitled to. This bill will result in cost savings to the state. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Bro. Seeing no discussion or debate on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 59, no 0. Measure passes. Members, we are going to take up file item number 72. Moving to file item 72. That's Senate Bill 347. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 347 by Senator Jackson, enacting firearms.
Dr. Eggman, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand as a proud supporter of the Second Amendment and also somebody very concerned about safety. This bill would move to add 3 additional things that, because of Prop 47, have been moved to be misdemeanors. 1, petty theft if the property taken was a firearm. 2, buying and receiving stolen property if the property consists of a firearm. And 3, carrying ammunition onto school grounds. This would place those people on the 10-year can't buy a firearm list. This is a sensible bill, members, as the person who represents Stockton, which had the first big school shooting where 29 children were shot, 5 killed. We know that past behavior is the best indicator of future behavior. I ask for your aye vote on this very common sense bill.
Thank you, Dr. Eggman. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 Dr. Eggman. Dr. Eggman moves a call on file item 72. Members, we're going to pass and retain on file items 73 through 75. We're moving to file item number 76. That's SB 441 for the purpose of amendments. Mr. Ting, you may open on the item. This is Senate Bill 441. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 441 by Senator Leno, enacting redevelopment.
Mr. Ting, you may open on the item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 441 by Senator Leno is a very important district bill to the city and county of San Francisco. I know that there's shared frustration by all of us in all our districts across the state around the issues of redevelopment. So last year when Senator Leno carried SB 1404, which was eventually vetoed by Governor Brown, he was asked to work specifically with Department of Finance on addressing issues around that bill. So that's why we have Senate Bill 441 today, which have been addressed directly with the Governor's Office and Department of Finance. While I myself would prefer to have an omnibus bill which really dealt with redevelopment throughout all our districts, this is the best that we could do given our particular issue in San Francisco. As all of you know, we've had an affordable housing crisis, and it's no more acute in San Francisco than anywhere else in the state. In the pipeline through redevelopment, which have been certified by the Department of Finance, we have over 3,300 units of affordable housing which are ready to be built through the successor program. With rents skyrocketing in San Francisco, it's an absolute crisis, and I urge your aye vote to help support our city and to make sure that the successor agency is allowed the funds that it needs to bond so that we can build affordable housing in San Francisco. Thank you very much. Respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Ting. Seeing no discussion or debate on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 Mr. Ting?
I'd like to move the call.
Mr. Ting moves the call on Senate Bill 441. File items 77 and 78, pass and retain. We are moving to file item number 79. That's Senate Bill 580. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 580 by Senator Liu and others, enacting a surplus residential property.
Mr. Holden, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to present Senate Bill 580 on behalf of Senator Carol Liu. It's regarding Caltrans and the sale of surplus properties along the I-710 corridor, right-of-way. This bill further expedites the sale of the surplus properties that are residential held by Caltrans over the last 50 years in the communities of Pasadena, South Pasadena, and Los Angeles communities of El Sereno. It's time to transition these properties into private ownership while boosting the availability of affordable housing in the San Gabriel Valley. The bill has been amended to ensure consistency with soon-to-be finalized Caltrans regulations and implementation legislation we passed in 2013. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll and tally the votes. Ayes 54, no 0. The measure passes. We're going to pass and retain file item 80. Moving now to file item 81, SB 7. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 7 by Senator Wolk and others, enacting the housing.
Mr. Williams, are you prepared to present? Actually, if we can pass temporarily. We'll pass temporarily file item 81. We're going to pass and retain file item 82. Moving now to file item 83, SB 42. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 42 by Senator Liu, enacting post-secondary education.
Assemblymember Medina, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, SB 42 would establish the Office of Higher Education, Performance, and Accountability in the Governor's Office as a successor agency to the California Post-Secondary Education Commission. This would be an independent entity responsible for higher education coordination. SB 42 establishes a clear point of access for working with the administration in the development and implementation of meaningful accountability and performance measures. As chair of the Assembly Higher Education Committee, my staff and I have been working closely with Senator Liu on this legislation. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll and tally the votes. Ayes 48, noes 2. The measure passes. Going now, actually, we're going to go back to an item that we had passed temporarily on. If we could go back to file item 70, SB 696, the clerk will read.
Senate Bill 696 by Senator Roth and Aqua relating to insurance.
Mr. Cooley, you're recognized.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speakers and members. This bill will modernize life insurance regulation by revising the method used to calculate the assets insurers must set aside to pay future claims. This change in the way of measuring assets reflects changes in the life insurance marketplace, really the global insurance marketplace, how things are measured. It is based on a consensus NAIC, National Association of Insurance Commissioners model, a good bill updating our California statute, and it will kick in once the majority of states in the U.S. have adopted as we are doing. Question, I vote.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 54, no 0. Measure passes. Going back to the order in the file, going to file item 84, SB 119, the clerk will read.
Senate Bill 119 by Senator Hill and Aqua relating to excavations.
Mr. Rendon, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. SB 119 makes several changes to the state's Call Before You Dig law. Central is the creation of an advisory committee, which has 3 tasks. One is to investigate accidents, one is to develop standards for safe excavation, and the third is to coordinate education and outreach efforts. This bill comes before this body after 2 policy hearings in this House and another 3 in the Senate. To bring this bill before you today, the author has worked extensively with gas and electric utilities, telecommunications companies, labor, agriculture, contractors, landscapers, and county governments. The bill's improvements in enforcement and in communication among all the different stakeholder groups could not have happened without their commitment to improve safety for everyone. This bill received unanimous support in the Assembly Utilities and Commerce Committee and the Assembly Judiciary Committee. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Mr. Frazier, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, as a contractor in the state of California, this is an essential product that is provided by this process, and it has saved so many lives and so much money going forward. I urge you to support this worthy measure. Thank you.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, Mr. Rendon, would you like to close?
Respectfully ask for your aye vote.
The clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll, tie the votes. Ayes 53, no 0. The measure passes. We're going to pass and retain file item 85. And then for file item 86, 87, 88, and 89, we're going to pass temporarily. File item 90, we're going to pass and retain. File item 91, we're going to pass and retain. File item 92, we're passing and retaining. Going now to file item 93, SB 541, the clerk will read.
Senate Bill 541 by Senator Hill and Aqua relating to transportation.
Mr. Rendon, you're recognized.
SB 541 by Senator Hill makes improvements to the CPUC's transportation branch, which fails to provide adequate customer service and safety enforcement. To improve customer service, the bill establishes new program priorities, such as timely processing of applications and consumer complaints. It improves public safety by authorizing law enforcement officials to cite drivers of limousines, buses, or moving vans that are pulled over and found to be operating without a valid CPUC permit. The bill is supported by the Greater California Livery Association, California Moving and Storage Association, and the California Police Chiefs Association, and has no opposition. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 61, no 0. Measure passes. Moving to file item 94, SCR 85. The clerk will read.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 85 by Senator Hall and others relative to the Nursing Home Caregiver Professionals and Long-Term Care Provider Month.
Mr. Medina, you're recognized.
Mr. Speaker and members, SCR 85 recognizes the month of November 2015 as Nursing Home Caregiver Professionals and Long-Term Care Provider Month. California's skilled nursing facilities employ 136,000 professionals, of which 47,000 direct caregivers deliver quality institutional care to our most vulnerable residents. The number of seniors requiring long-term care will drastically increase as the number of Californians who are 65 and older is estimated to grow to 9 million people in the next 15 years. SCR 85 recognizes the essential work and contributions of nursing home caregivers and acknowledges the need to have the sufficient number of direct caregiver staff to treat consumers in a dignified manner. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll, tie the votes. Ayes 47, no 0. Measure passes. We're going to pass and retain file item 95. We are going to pass temporarily file item 96. And at this time go to file item 97, SB 588. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 588 by Senator De Leon and others, and act relating to employment.
Assemblymember Stone, you're recognized.
Mr. Speaker and members, SB 588 builds on the wage theft bill that was attempted last year and that passed out of this body and built that momentum to continue the conversation to address a problem that is rife here in California. At the Department of Labor, almost 80%, 83% of the employees who win a wage claim don't ever collect on that wage claim because 60% of the businesses, by the time the adjudication happens, have gone out of business. What SB 588 does is it provides tools for the Labor Commissioner to go after those who are really guilty of taking money out of the pockets of the employees that have been promised, work that has been done, wages that have been earned but never paid. In Los Angeles County, that accounts to up to $1 billion a year in money that is not going into the pockets of the workers who need it the most. Mostly these are low-wage workers. These are families, community members. These are neighbors of ours who are struggling on a day-to-day basis, trying to make ends meet, and not getting paid for, again, the work that has been done. Recent amendments have removed most all the opposition, including the opposition of the chamber. The Senate Pro Tem has worked very hard to put together a bill that addresses the issue, puts tools in the Labor Commissioner's pocket to be able to deal with the issues as they arise, go after the bad actors in the state of California. And with that, I respectfully ask for your aye votes.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 Clerk will close the roll, tie the votes. Ayes 43, noes 15. The measure passes. We're passing and retaining file item 98. Going now to file item 99, SB 246. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 246 by Senator Wykowski and act relating to environmental protection.
Mr. Gordon, you're recognized.